A bad description of my job is drawing. You draw a lot, right? Can you draw something nice for me?
We shift circles and rectangles around on the digital screen.
I design digital products, although I'm not a digital designer.
Welcome to today's session where we are learning about design. We're working with National Youth Council to prepare this content series right now. National Youth Council has been preparing a lot of content that's great and amazing for youth. You should go and Google for On My Way National Youth Council and you will find tons of resources available. So I'm just going to introduce some of our people for today.
I'm Jane, I'm a third-year maritime student.
Hi, I'm Havel and I'm a year 1 student at SMU and I'm studying business.
Next up, can we have the professionals? We're going to get people to assemble sandwiches. But in these sandwiches, right, basically every ingredient is going to represent different parts of the design work. I want you guys to basically assemble a sandwich based on what you think design work is like. Okay, go ahead, start.
Okay, this is something like overcooked in real life.
I do think they do a lot of research, but I don't like tomatoes, so I'm just going to put a lot of tomatoes.
That's not how it works.
And I believe there might be some presentation.
Yeah, I think there are lots of presentations actually. Other work,
slacking off at work. Yes, exactly. Top it off with some admin work. So to look nicer, yeah, that's how designers do.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so time's up.
My sandwich is an open sandwich, so I think in design, the industry itself, it's very open to new ideas and innovative. It's always dynamic. I'm sure there are lots of meetings with clients in terms of trying to find out what the clients want. I put only a little bit of admin work because I think it depends on what position you hold in the company. Lots of design work, of course. Cheese, yes, presentations. I think within your team, you're trying to show each other what you have, show the clients as well. Yeah, I put lots of tomatoes, but I'm sure research is important in terms of finding inspiration and drawing on what styles are in trend, I think.
So, yeah, well said. I totally agree with whatever you mentioned. Maybe for me to add on the others, other stuff that designers do would be going out for informal meetings, yeah, such as like going for dinner, drinks, or maybe just going for work trips together to understand each other more.
What we're going to do next is invite our design professionals to come on and show what their job is actually like. Can we get Sydney to come up?
The way YouTube works is a really large company. We generally cannot make super big changes. We'll tend to have a more serious and rigorous process. So the first thing that we do, I have a sandwich here that represents meetings, is you always have a kickoff meeting. And because YouTube is such a large company, you have a lot of admin work. You have to file, you have to notify, people that you're going to do this. There are even more meetings to I will try to find the requirements for the feature so that I can start my design. So finally done with that, I can finally design. And I will have to go through a lot of presentations, to justify and defend my design, then go back and make animations of the user interface. But before anything gets out on YouTube, we'll want to test it with users first. So there'll be more admin work, setting up the research, recruiting participants. Once we get the feedback from that, we will present what the final design is, and then probably we'll have a celebration meeting once we launch our feature.
Next one, we have Mel.
As you can see, there's lots of bread. A lot of my work is co-creation with clients, co-creation with stakeholders. So on a weekly basis, we might be meeting clients and stakeholders, in my job particularly, every day or every other day. Then a lot of cheese. So when you meet stakeholders, you really want to build credibility and relationship with them. So there's a lot of presentation, there's a lot of preparation. Because I'm a designer in government, there's a lot of admin to make sure that we're doing the right thing. As a lead designer, I don't do as much design work myself, but there's a lot of what's called design plus others in the bacon, and that's really about guiding and steering the design team both on our side and our stakeholders' side to work together. I do some research as well because sometimes in order to help others, in order to make sure that the work is going as smoothly as possible, we need to do a bit of research ourselves. I have others here because a lot of my job actually also involves hiring the right designers for the team, making sure they're set up well so that the project is not just delivery, but we focus on the growth of designers to make sure that they're comfortable and happy doing the work that they're doing as well.
And then lastly, we have Praxium.
If you can see it, my role is to create health services with e-health applications, and the research component comes because I work at the university to gain insight and to understand the people that we serve with our designs. So like the others, I actually do have admin. I'm in a leadership position. That's why I hire people to do administration. There's of course a meeting, but before a meeting I have to do a lot of research. Because I'm doing health tech and I'm not a doctor, I do need to understand what the space or domain is. Then after that, I meet a meeting, I talk to people just like them, I have to get stakeholders on board. But then I go back and do research, but my research changes a little bit. And then I get to do a little bit of design, but I also monitor other people's work. And to gain insight and understanding about how you can help them improve their health or improve their lives and things like that. And so here comes the sauce. At the end of it is the crowning glory of the presentation, where hopefully, we get everybody's buy-in, and then repeat the process all over again.
What we're going to move into right now, it's a more Q&A format. Maybe the first question is, how's the gender balance in the design industry?
This is changing all the time, but traditionally there are more men in architecture and more women in interior design. But actually in our team, we are 50-50.
And it's like government.
It's government.
Singapore progressing forward.
That's right.
Tech in general definitely skews more heavily towards men than women, but I think in design it's really quite 50-50.
Yeah, I think it's the same. There tends to be more women in the space I'm in because it's health services research, but generally it would break down into certain lines. So I'm also part of a larger conference in the area I'm in called HCI, Human-Computer Interaction. So that's like the more academic name for design research in technology. And in that space you can actually see, depending on the topic area, certain domains are very male skewed, where it has to do with Internet of Things, for example, or hardware. And then when it comes to research that has to do with ethnography or understanding people more, then the room tends to skew this way a little bit. But it doesn't say that there isn't a mix, and there should be a mix.
Would you recommend someone who doesn't have like people skills? Maybe they're really good at design.
There's a recognition that people are different. It's about creating an environment where they feel that they can be themselves, but they are also encouraged to work together, because the work that we do, no one can do it by themselves.
I relate very personally to this because when I was in school, I'll be the one that doesn't do the work, and then the team leader will have to carry. And then I remember my first design internship I had, I was like, I don't really like people. My colleague was like, then why are you in UX design? So that was me back then, but now I really need to work with a lot of people, and I think I'm pretty good at it. I think what changed is probably because I care a lot more about the things that I design for. I care a lot more about the users. I work on gaming, so I'm a huge gamer, so I just really want to create really good features for that. Even if you think you are not good with people or you're an introvert, try to find something that you actually care about, because your attitude towards that will be very different. That will be your true collaborative attitude, I would say, because you're with other people who care about the same thing.
Actually, your question reminds me of a friend of mine called Timothy Yeo. He's a designer, and he wrote a really good presentation about why a design introvert can be a positive thing. The one thing that struck me was that introverts don't want to put themselves forward, but instead putting your colleagues forward and bringing out their strengths. And I think you cannot do things on your own in this space. So bringing the team together is actually also an important thing to do.
If people are going to be a problem, right, realize that that huge impact that you are going to land on is worth you working with people.
With all these new trends like TikToks, COVID and AI coming, what would be the new job scope that will emerge in the near future?
design and research, they are very like common sense things. Like design, again, like I said, I just move circles and rectangles around. That's like no big deal. And research is just like common sense again, like you want to understand people before you design for them. So these are like the core tenets of like UX that doesn't really change. Yeah, but I would say like the spaces we look at, we are starting to research maybe contact tracing, for example. I know Pinsim and Melissa are looking into this space because of COVID.
So what you're saying is that the skills and the role doesn't change so much, it's just the context you apply the skills to changes quite quickly.
Something that's interesting that design is moving into is you have people or designers that have a desire to do organizational design, OD, and it includes very human stuff. Taking care of the team, looking internally as we design more technology, as technology pervades people's lives. What is the humanness part of it? And so human-centered design and all that kind of ties into this area of when we're designing stuff and things and services, but actually we're also designing ourselves.
For artificial intelligence, it's very vulnerable to biases. So there are researchers who are looking at the ethics of artificial intelligence applications and also how to work with it and how we can get people to be actively aware of what's happening with their data. And it's a very complex thing to present to people in an understandable way so that they can make meaningful decisions about it. But I think we can't really avoid it anymore, and we have to start to grapple with this question. And I see a lot of work coming out in that space, which is super interesting. Yeah.
Would you say that means that you may have more people in the design space that may not come from a pure design training, but more
absolutely.
Humanities and social science?
Absolutely. I don't meet anybody who's so properly design trained. Everybody comes from different spaces and they bring what strengths they have in that space.
When do you guys like realize that this is what you want to do?
I think one key moment was when my father passed away. There were a lot of decisions to be made regarding his care. And then shortly after that, I went away to do my master's. And what I did for my final year thesis was end-of-life decision-making and technology. It was very interesting because at that point in time, I finally put together a lot of interests that I had. I could think about design, I could think about people, I could think about humanity and willingness and families. I think that was a pivotal moment and I kept wanting to do it after that. Yeah.
I think it's more important to say like what problems in the world do you care about solving. My route was like born out of practical circumstances. So what happened when I was in secondary 1 was I learned like coding and Photoshop. So I was like freaking obsessed with it. But throughout, like one consistent theme in my life was like, wow, grades are so important. You are all so smart and elite. So I always felt this pressure, like even though I wanted to do art, I had to do something more practical. And that's where UX design comes in. So I strongly recommend, if you are like me and you also care about, stability, but you also like expressing the creative side of you, like UX is like that perfect like blend of it.
I wasn't that great a student, so I kind of latched onto that idea of becoming a designer. But that changed a lot. There was always an interest in becoming a designer because it was also something that I loved doing and appreciated. Yeah, so I didn't focus on my, whether I did well in exams and stuff like that, because I knew that that was the path I was going to take.
That's really good. Most people are just like, for example, like myself, I still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, it's fine, yeah.
There's no reason for you to have a decided career by 25, right? And my career has been testimony to that.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Like my professor, he also mentioned, it's okay if you don't end up in this, or like in 10 years down the road you want to change.
But the way I look at it is that you're constantly improving yourself anyway. You should be, right? There's no such thing as a lifelong career anymore.
If you have no talent or prior background, can you enter the design industry? What are some skill sets you might need beforehand?
I don't think people don't have a talent, they just haven't had the time to explore what their talent is. So that's the first thing. And the second one is what's in front of you. It's a place to start. What's in front of you will develop who you are. I would say take courage and go and find out who you are.
If you can imagine a team of like super talented people, but all very difficult to work with, I think I wouldn't want to be in that team. There's a real sort of misunderstanding of what design is and can be now, because it's expanded beyond all of that. But as Sini was saying, I think it does benefit when you have sort of a practical side, a creative side, when you're a broader type of designer rather than just focus on one thing.
You don't get a UX cert and then you get a job. Like, it's not that simple. Yeah, you now need to like know how do you stand out, how do you tell your story, how do you like make a case to the company that is worth hiring you. So I think one general thing that you probably need is like presentation and storytelling.
If you're uncertain about having no background, having no talent, how you get talent is to be more committed, to find the opportunities to develop yourself. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you took away something today. See you guys next time.